Hey Doug, how's it going, man?
Hey, buddy. Doing great.
How are you? How are things in Asheville?
Uh, interesting. I feel like I'm living in apocalyptic land right now. Obviously, Asheville is a tourist destination, and all of our businesses thrive and exist off of food, beverage, entertainment, music, arts,
Yeah,
and people traveling from around the world to come see those things.
yeah,
So having one not be allowed to be open and the other not be allowed to travel, it's turned us into quite the ghost town.
yeah, yeah, I can imagine. So, for those of you that are watching this and maybe don't know, why don't you just give us a quick lowdown on who you are and what you do, Doug?
Yeah. I'm Doug Reiser, co-founder and head of operations at Burial Beer Company in Asheville, North Carolina. We started as a very small brewery, expanded into a production facility, opened a restaurant called Forestry Camp that curates some of the best beverage producers in the country and makes a kind of a family style dining experience that's inspired by Basque cuisine. And we opened a tap room in Raleigh, North Carolina, to service people on the east side of the state. And that's the quick elevator pitch of what we do.
Very good, perfect. So we picked that up from where we left off before that. So yeah, I mean, I know that everywhere, right? I mean, not just Asheville, but everywhere, literally everywhere is feeling the same pangs of, you know, having to close the bulk of their operation, letting people come in and enjoy the indoor experience and whatever. And you
Oh
guys
yeah,
reduced to, I'm sure, like making local deliveries and maybe curbside pickup and that kind of thing. And
man, we've been very fortunate to be, uh, I don't know the way to put it, but like we have enough anxiety and paranoia that we're constantly worried and diving in earlier than everybody else to alternate plans, and we were kind of prepared to some degree. I went to New York City to a beer event up there held by our friends at Other Half Brewing in New York. This was like right around the 1st of March, and New York was starting to panic, and it was very evident to me that this thing was serious and that there was going to be government intervention in certainly in New York. And I thought that, it would inevitably, once one governor does it, all the governors are going to feel like, oh, I'm irresponsible if I don't do it. And inevitably I was paranoid. I was worried about getting sick, and I was worried about bringing it back to my staff. And,
yeah,
thinking about my team and our customers, puts a lot of weight on you, man. And the only reality is to do the right thing and try to protect your people. I mean, we're obviously doing our part of the larger, picture of everybody's supposed to be social distancing, but obviously all I can really take care of is my family and my staff and my customers. So we made the decision early on. We actually preempted, the government's orders here and shut our tap rooms down for to go and delivery. We did delivery right out the bat, and we had a online shop set up like overnight to add online shipping. And that was something that we had been working on for months, actually, on the compliance side, and we kind of had to just fucking hammer it in and rush it in the last second. I wish it was a project that I had sitting as a task for our team for like 9 months, and it just kept getting lower prioritized because like, oh, we don't need to do online shipping. I'm like, there's gonna be a day when we need to be doing online shipping. So I'm glad we were able to flex fast enough to get it done
yeah,
and get it rolling. And that has been huge, converting our tap room into like the virtual tap room online, and doing all of our releases on Wednesdays, allowing people to reserve them and get them shipped to them with some stickers and some merch and try to create their own burial experience at home has been really cool, and something that we're continuing to try to come up with new ideas on how to build onto, using technology like Zoom and basically allowing people to come check into our tap room, and drink their
yeah.
beer among our mural and our bartenders and all that type of stuff. So we're kicking around a few ideas, but online shipping, pickup and delivery has helped us, sustain. We're not nearly where we were before, but we're close enough to feel not in a total panic or worried about having to shut our business down someday.
Right.
We obviously wholesale the other element of our business. We're very fortunate that we were already in wholesale. We weren't in as much as you'd like to be.
Right.
Seeing as the whole world of beer is now bought in cans at a grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
We were fortunate to have a canning line, and we had some reach in package stores, but we didn't have enough, to shut down all that draft. I mean, our main demographic was restaurants. We make niche beer, make really culinary inspired beer. A lot of chefs around the state support us, and losing all the restaurants was not only heartbreaking, but really, really harmful to the business. So we had to flex. And over the last couple of weeks, we've been expanding our relationships with existing grocers like Whole Foods and Fresh Market, but adding the biggest grocery chain in the state. Well, the largest high dollar, kind of like highbrow grocery chain. It's called Harris Teeter, which is owned by Kroger now. And we'll be rolling out with them here in a couple of weeks. And that's maybe the thing that kind of saves us and gets us back to normal.
Yeah.
Well, some semblance of normal. I shouldn't say normal, but keeps us at a rate of production that allows us to keep all of our people working.
Right. Oh, that's good. That sounds like a good deal. That you being proactive and just jumping in and shutting your tap room down like that ahead of even the governor's warning, like you were saying, whatever, did that really freak local people out? Because I know how popular you guys are. It's almost like a cult following there. And did that kind of freak local people out? Like, hey man, Burial's shutting down. This shit must be serious,
My fucking dad called me. He's like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah.
It was, yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody was ready for it when we made the decision that Sunday night. I think it was Sunday night, and posted that we were done. I got texts from a lot of brewery owners first thing in the morning, being like, "Oh God, why is this something we should be worried about?" I'm like, "Yeah, I bet it's gonna happen." And I think Tuesday, it was less than 48 hours later, that the governor shut the state down. So, yeah, I mean, I think that and to some extent, like, we wanted to be a leader. We not like we wanted to influence people to make the right decision. You know what I mean? And that's what was important to us, was like, only way that we're going to actually survive this thing is if people react faster. And so we made the decision to rip the Band-Aid off first, and I'm glad that everybody else followed suit.
Yeah. How much of this shit has actually harmed you in the way of personnel? Have you had to let anybody go or furlough anyone for a later day? Or
man, that was terrible. We initially, like, right away, were operating at like 55% revenue, and didn't know if we were going to be able to grow. And we're very fortunate to be up into the 70 somethings now, and we still have growth to go now with our wholesale growing. So we're getting closer to normal. But we owned a restaurant, and that's where the bulk of our cuts had to go. I mean, we cut that we had to, I hate to say cut, sorry. We had to lay off, and we furloughed, and we hope these amazing people are wanting to come back to our restaurant once we're able to reopen. But we had to lay off, man, like almost like 30 people, most of which were restaurant servers, bartenders, cooks, a couple bartenders at our tap rooms, and a couple back of the house people, which was brutal for me.
Yeah, that can't feel good.
It was like 2 or 3. There are like 2 or 3 still laid off from back of house, and I'm hoping, like, we're getting more and more work every day, and I'm hoping to get us back to normal soon. But some of those things are just necessary. It's brutal when you're underwater.
Yeah.
And some companies are way underwater every week, or some companies cut pay significantly to everybody. The one thing that we really wanted to make sure we did was that for everybody that was there working, we wanted their pay to be stable. Like, we don't want to, I know some breweries are like, everybody's moving down to minimum wage, and we're just going to, weather the storm. We're all going to take significant pay cuts. And I got no problem not cutting my paycheck, I'm making zero right now, and that's what I deserve. You know, that's the owner responsibility. But these guys that are in there kicking ass, working their ass off in the face of danger, you know, I'm scared shitless having them even in there. They're wearing masks and gloves and staying 6 feet away from each other. But it's like, you know, if they're going to be there working every day, putting in 50-hour weeks or 45-hour weeks, whatever the hell it is, depending on their job, like I wanted them to be paid right. So we did our best to not cut pay. We only cut kind of the highest compensated people at the company, and only a little bit, you know, 10 to 15%, depending on how much you were making. But people that were in our median range, we didn't want to touch their compensation. And so we so far we haven't had to.
That's good. So I know you're talking about the restaurant and stuff in that, is that any way operational, or it's just completely shut down? Do you have any creative things happening with that for
No, I appreciate you asking. Forestry Camp is evolving, you know, just in a way that Burial evolved into this, you know, virtual experience. We've been trying to come up with ways for Forestry Camp to do that. You know, we talk about walking the line and being able to fall either side, which means just having diverse avenues of revenue for our business sectors. You know, our retail being able to be on premise or off premise is great. Our wholesale being able to be in restaurants or grocery is great. And our food program, we were 6 months young, and we had all these amazing plans to develop food product business. We are barrel fermenting hot sauce. We are barrel fermenting steak sauce. We are curing charcuterie. We are making chorizo, and all those things. Like, we were just starting to talk about food packaging, you know, the packaging and the wrappers and stickers and all that stuff. And this makes us, you know, this puts a foot up your ass and says, hey, you got to get this shit done now, and you got to do it. You got to do it bigger than you were going to do it before. This isn't just butcher wrapping sausages and selling them out the front door. It's shrink wrapping them and putting them into stores. And so we are working on developing our food product program as we speak. That is the thing that's kind of like in movement right now that isn't active. But for the time being, Forestry Camp moved down to a food delivery service, and we're doing packaged dinners to go. We also butcher whole animals. It's actually my wife and children are walking in the house right now, so there may be a little background noise, which I think everybody's dealing with in every work environment right now in the world.
Yeah.
Anyways, we a big part of our food program is butchering of whole animal, and that's the way all of our meat products have been crafted since the beginning. We bring in a couple whole hogs a week. We bring in quarters of cow, bring in whole fish, whole poultry, all that type of stuff, and we cook that way. And so what we've done is we've basically turned are you familiar with CSA, community supported agriculture? Like, farmers have these CSA boxes of.
Well, I mean, I am, but probably everybody watching this is. I want you to start.
Yes, CSA. So like, farmers have these community supported agriculture, which is basically a subscription program. You pay $25, $30 every week, and you get a box of a share of the farm of what they've got.
Oh yeah.
Up and being harvested. We're doing the same thing at Forestry Camp. It's $60. You get a butcher's box of select meat products that we butchered for the week. You know, this week there's some chorizo, there's some beef cheeks, there's some poultry, there's some beef fat. We even are starting to include recipes for people. But you know, you got to evolve, and the modern dining culture is eating at home and preparing your own food. And so being able to offer people amazing ingredients and some guidance on how to prepare that food is something that we see being a long-standing business. Because I do think that the way people dine is going to change from this. You know, it's going to take a while for people to be comfortable going back into a restaurant, sitting at community tables and sharing food.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I mean, you guys treated us last time we were out there to an awesome night there. So I've had the Forestry Camp experience. And for me, just because I'm a sensory person, a visual person or whatever, like, easily 50% or more of the experience for me was just being in that room with you guys and around the table and the lighting and how great it looks in there and all that. And I imagine that's most people's dining experience with a type of restaurant like Forestry Camp, if not Forestry Camp. So I think it's amazing that, you know, you guys, first of all, have more going on than just how cool the inside space is, but you're doing all this, you know, locally sourced stuff, and you know, there's more to it than just you know, it's even bigger than just the food. You know, it's a relationship with the community and that kind of thing. So that's great that you guys have been able to expand on that in what's going on right now.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, man. It was awesome to have you down there, and you and Shannon. Love hanging with you guys when we get the chance. And I think our goal with the restaurant was to, you know, not just abandon our values. You know, like our values were in working with local agriculture to a heavy extent, telling their story, and we've continued to do that through this whole mess. We are still, you know, buying from the same farms and supporting them at a time when they are scared shitless that, you know, all their restaurant customers are closed down, and how are they going to get food? So being able to help be being able to be a middleman between a farmer and a consumer, which is the way we always have been. We were just serving it on a plate at a table at our restaurant.
Right.
Now getting it to the consumer so that these farmers can still sell food and not have to find a way to sell to consumers. It's really difficult. And so there's a couple restaurants in town doing this. I mean, our friends at Vivian, which is a restaurant that opened actually at Burial's Taproom initially in a small way called Salt and Smoke. They've been doing this grocer thing every week where they're selling, you know, fresh mushrooms and fresh greens and smoked sausage that he makes using local butchered hog. And it's been really refreshing to see that, because, you know, obviously you worry about numero uno when this type of stuff happens, and you freaked out by your own business. But man, we're a part of this community here. It's a small town, 80,000, 90,000 people at best. I mean, we're such an agricultural and arts focused town, and to see everybody scared, you know, for their businesses and their, you know, personal stability has been really troubling. So it's been really awesome to see restaurants stepping up and finding new ways to get people agricultural products.
Yeah. It is good. You know, I listen to podcasts that have these economists on there and different things like that. It's even more relevant right now, you know, but I want to say even at least 2 weeks ago, if not 3, you know, I heard this guy predicting that 70% of small businesses, but mostly restaurants and bars that have closed because of all this, won't ever come back. I don't know. You agree with that? Do you see that? I mean, I know you're filtering everything through Asheville lens, but
well, I mean, an Asheville lens is kind of the epitome of it for sure. You know, considering the fact that I think metros are safer because they have so many people there that they're still seeing some support, and they know that they'll be back to business right away. You know what I mean? Tourism is an optional thing, and it's kind of a luxury. So it's really the last thing you should be focusing on after a crisis, certainly with a financial recession likely joining this whole mess. There's concern. I would say that restaurants, I've been kind of tossing around at a 50% number of 50% of restaurants may not be back from this. The data from the Brewers Association, you know, breweries, they're, you know, if you're a on-premise like taproom draft place, certainly this is you're the most susceptible to not being able to rebound because you've had no income during this whole time, or you've had very little income. A lot of those places have just shut down, and we have several in Nashville that have just closed, you know, with the intention that they're going to come back. But you just don't know. The Brewers Association, the nationwide Brewers Association based out of Colorado, released a survey result yesterday that was really, really gloomy and scary. Based upon their survey results, you know, more than 75% of brewers have lost are making less than 50% of their normal revenue. 45% of brewers said that within 1 to 4 weeks they would be they would be out of money and have to shut down operations permanently. That's a shitload. We have a little bit more stability than restaurants for sure, because of the fact that a lot of us, maybe half of us, do have distribution and packaged beer, and so still can distribute beer through grocery chains and things like that. So to that extent, we are lucky. But I mean, this numbers around 40 to 50%, like, they feel real. And I think, I don't think 70% is real. I mean, maybe in some communities.
Well, and that was weeks ago, and it was one guy and a panel of 3 people, and they could be walking that number back.
Well, and if it was probably before the PPP, the CARES Act was passed, the third phase.
It was, I think, yeah.
Program. And everybody at that point, before there was any government intervention, it was definitely a 70-80% of restaurants may never be able to rebound if there's no government intervention. With the PPP, even, I mean, that's gave some enthusiasm and some encouragement, but realistically, that money just replaces payroll that you had to pay out at a time, if you were, and the only way to use it, I mean, it's either a loan or you have to use the money to pay payroll and rent.
Right.
Engagements that you already have. So it's certainly, like, for a business like us, like, the PPP loan is huge. It's great. It allows us to have the confidence to keep our people on payroll and know that that money will be covered and we'll be able to weather the storm for 2.5 months. But, at this point, I think we all know that this isn't March, April, May. It's going to be June. It may be July. So they're going to have to extend the program and extend that payment if they want to sustain businesses.
Mm-hmm. So what's your, I've been asking everybody I've talked to on this thing, what's your layman, prognosis for, what's the outcome of this look like? What's your predictions for, and we've talked about the industry, but I mean, as just the pandemic and just what's happening, like, what's your guess?
Guess on what? Just the timeline to, like, reopen?
Well, I mean, yeah, like, how do you see this affecting the world when it's done, and when do you think it's done?
Man, the big picture. I think I was on. We do this thing every night at 9 p.m. Tim and I rotate, called Night at the Altar, which I'd love to have you on one night. And we talk with friends in the brewing industry every once in a while. And last night I had Evan Price from this brewery called Green Cheek out in LA. And he theorized that that tap rooms and on-premise places would not be able to open until August. And that he thought, the rest of 2020 would be very, very bleak for retail, that it would be kind of a ghost town-ish feeling until maybe the holidays will warm up a little bit. And then after the holidays, it might get even worse than before as we move into another flu season. And that it may be until next summer that everybody finally wipes their head after we get through another flu season and see and survive one, without a huge outbreak or crisis. I'm a little bit more optimistic. I think that the stay-home orders are definitely going to be extended to May any minute. I don't know why they still haven't. They need to be. I would love to see some type of phased return to work in June, and if we were back to being able to be open to the public in July, that'd be great. But I don't know. I don't want to go back to, like, some model where they're like, you can have 25 people in your tap room at a time and they have to sit at 6. Like, that's not what our tap room is about. It's not what our restaurant's about. And I won't open that way. We'll just continue in the model that we're doing. We've already put a lot of effort into it. And I like, we're doing okay. And if we can continue to find other ways to grow, great. I'd rather humanity get back to a state of some semblance of calm and comfort before we kind of open those doors again. But I think that, I think it's definitely going to change the dining environment. I think for tap rooms, I don't think there's a ton of difference. I think you're going to see people, like, want to keep their distance, want to keep their space between them. We're very fortunate that our tap room in Asheville has 2 bars and a half an acre of space that you can, there could be 300 people there and you could be 20 feet away from the next person. It's just, we're very fortunate to have all that space. And I wish we had it in our Raleigh place.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, we had a meeting yesterday with our head chef and and Tim, my co-owner and co-founder, and Jess, my wife and co-founder. And I mean, JT, our head chef, like pitched us on a world of dining that's just totally different than what we know. And it is what it is. I think that you're gonna have to pivot. If anybody's sitting around thinking it's gonna be the way it was,
Mm-hmm.
they're really, really short-sighted on this thing, and they need to be thinking about ways to curtail their business to satisfy everyone's needs. The people who want to eat at home with raw groceries and cook everything themselves. The people that just want to have food prepared and meals and experiences prepared and delivered to them, but in their own home. And the people that do want to come to your place still, but don't want to share plates and sit, a foot away from anybody else. And that fourth demographic of the 20s and 30s that are like, I don't give a shit. Like,
Yeah.
I want to go back to sitting at a community table and sharing things. So like we talked about like all four of those like how do we create an environment that satisfies like all four of those types of people. And we're fortunate that Forestry Camp has a lot of space, and we have a big enough kitchen, and we have the staff that we think we can make all those experiences exist.
Yeah, it's good. I personally, man, I don't want to see us wind up, even after all this is really legit gone and off the table, and we don't have to worry about this particular virus anymore. I don't want to see us go to a place where like people don't want to snuggle up close and have intimate conversations around a table or a fire pit, or and everyone wants to stay apart and everyone's leery of each other. I just think it's not human nature to do that. And I think just like 9/11, there was a lot of fear and scare, but those things kind of do wear off. And whether we like it or not, it's just human nature. And people, I think, will go back to the way they're meant to be. So I don't know how long that'll take, but that'll happen.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting texts about our PPP loan right now, which is like the most important thing in my head right now.
It is. Well, I think we covered a lot of ground here.
Like, yeah, you're good. You're approved. So
that's awesome. Well, I think we covered some good ground here, man. I want to end on a good note. So I appreciate you making the time. I know you're probably the busiest guy I know, and so
I don't want to take that much credit. There's a lot of people out there, that I am very fortunate. The one thing I'll say, and this is a very positive note, I'm very fortunate to have two amazing co-founders who care about not only the financial stability of our business, but the people who work there. And Tim and Jess are very passionate people who I'm very lucky to share the responsibility with. And we also have an incredible leadership team, a head of sales, a head of marketing, a head of finance, a head brewer, a head of packaging, a head of like these people are spending every day trying to look out for our staff while also trying to manage a very razor thin bottom line and maximize revenue through the freaking door, through the roof. So I'm like I said, yeah, sure. I mean, there's a lot of weight on my shoulders, but without those people, I probably would have crumbled by now.
Yeah.
So big ups to them.
It's big ups to them, man. It's so amazing, man. After all these years of working with you, I know when I came in, it was a significantly smaller operation going on, and it's just incredible to hear about you rifle off your list of people and their titles and all that, because you guys have grown, and rightfully so, and deservedly so. So I'm glad you've got that kind of support, and you don't have to fucking worry about every bit of all that on your own at all times. So that's great to hear. I'm glad for that. Thanks for taking the time, man. I know we'll be chatting soon. We got artwork to make, so. Yeah,
man, get back at it. I'm glad to hear you're still drawing. The world needs your pictures. That's for sure.
I am. I don't know about that, but my family does.
Well, I'm happy to be putting some work in your lap the next couple of weeks. Stoked to get some new DPS art on some of our cans. I mean, it's been a weird like month trying to like, oh God, what cans do we already have? Like, we need to fill stuff and we need to do this. And it's been just frantic trying to be intelligent about,
Totally.
what we can get out to people. But like the burial way is to constantly reinvent and to constantly introduce new pieces of art and new products. And we're not going to abandon that just because we're struggling. We've just got to fight. We just got to be smarter about the way we do it. But I'm super pumped to put some ideas in your way again next week.
All right. Booyah.
All right, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. You have a good rest of your day. We'll talk soon.
You too. Send our love to the fam.
I will. You do the same.
All right, buddy. Bye.
Bye.